Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you my honest review of the Ratatouille movie. Unfortunately, I'm just kidding. This is my presentation on French cuisine and its history. When you think of French food, you might think about flaky pastries or rich stews, or maybe savory meat dishes. But you have to wonder, what are their origins? We start in the medieval period, roughly circa 1000 to 1500. Banquets were served for the wealthy nobility, and curing meats had just become cool because of recent Roman influence, which still plays a part in modern French cuisine in charcuterie, which has cold cuts like prosciutto and salami. During this time, Le Vernier was made, the earliest collection of French recipes. This would lay out the blueprint for haute cuisine later. Grains, fruit, and meat were held basically only for the rich, and the poor were stuck with just legumes. This was also one of the first instances we see chefs holding high regards for presentation and food quality, which alludes to what's to come. This time period's flavor profile particularly stands out because of its acidity from vinegar, which was made from fermented wine. During the Renaissance era, we can see it's the end of mainstream use of spices from Eastern Europe and Asia, which had a temporary stay, except for peppercorns because they're cool. To fill their role, Mediterranean herbs like rosemary, parsley, tarragon, and more integrated into France. Butter also became very popular all across Europe, but especially in France, where they make a special kind of butter called beurre de badaud, or churning butter, which has a higher fat percentage and results in a creamier butter. The French like butter so much that they even made a tower for it, called Tour de Beurre. Anyways, another major influence for France's culinary advancement was Italy, who had just gotten tomatoes from the New World and refined their usage of them and gave that knowledge to France along with truffles and garlic. So why would they do that for France? Because Catherine de' Medici married King Henry II and brought with her Italian influence. At the time, Italian chefs were much more proficient, and France probably wouldn't have been able to get where they are culinarily wise without them. Speaking of the Columbian exchange, along with tomatoes, France also got capsaicin peppers for spice, as well as potatoes, which are staple now, making one of my favorite dishes, potato au gratin. The defining factors of this period include the richness of the food from the newfound use of dairy products, which comes along with decadence. Italian influence also advanced the gastronomy rapidly. Even though technically the old regime starts in 1500, there's a big jump in culinary differences from 1500 to 1600, so you could also just call this era pre-revolution. Of course, we know that the old regime had 3 estates, blah blah, whatever. The estates are what caused nobility to take interest in haute cuisine again, as it became associated with aristocracy. This allowed for it to really develop intricate techniques such as emulsification, sautéing, and choux pastry. Regions also became more independent in a culinary sense, such as Normandy being known for dairy, Burgundy for wine and beef, and Provence for its Mediterranean influence. This is called provincial cuisine. Like what happened during the Renaissance era, spices were now being replaced by herbs almost completely now, with saffron, cinnamon, cumin, ginger, and nutmeg being switched out for herbs like parsley, thyme, bay leaves, rosemary, sage, and tarragon, to focus on fresher flavors. 2 very important figures from this era were François Varin and Marie Antoine Carême. Marie invented the mother sauces, bechamel, velouté, espagnole, tomato sauce, and hollandaise. However, to counter haute cuisine, the works for nouvelle cuisine were laid out, which involved using lighter ingredients with a heavy focus on individual ingredients and presentation. Not too different from the Renaissance period, there was a heavy focus on dairy and hearty filling meals, though there's more diversity with some populations preferring lighter things. There's also diversity by region, as French cuisine has continued to be explored as time passes. Now that the revolution's over, chefs have the freedom to branch out as they please, and haute and nouvelle cuisines both expand past France. 2 important figures in nouvelle cuisine were Henri Gault and Christian Malou, who encouraged innovation and creativity in cooking. And you also have to know Julia Child. She's just my goat, and this is my presentation, so I'm including my favorite French chef. R.I.P. Julia. Anyway, thanks for your attention, and I hope, at the very least, I made you crave some French food.